Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another live stream and welcome to a Sunday night, just general Chelsea chat. International break is pretty much done. England have just won 5-0. Thomas Tuchel era is now upon us and Chelsea are back, in less than a week. So things are definitely on the up. We're going to look ahead to Leicester, maybe it's early look ahead to that. Talking about the upcoming sort of run-up to Christmas, is that make or break for our season? The search for centre-backs, future of a Christopher Nkunku and whatnot, and just loads to dive into as always. I'm delighted to be joined by Pys. Bro, great to have you as always, mate. Thanks for coming. Talk to me, Chelsea. Obviously, November international break, we're third. I know the table's close. It's 4 points between third and 13th, so there's not really much room for error. But before we get into a bit of a deeper conversation, are you pretty happy with what you've seen so far this season?
Yeah, I think it's as good as I thought it could be in terms of I don't think this is probably the top end of third in the table. I didn't think we'd go any higher, to be honest with you. But being above Arsenal, albeit goal difference, I think is very surprising. All in all, I've been pretty happy. I think there's definitely a lot of improvements that we could make. Some tactical things like in the lineups and stuff. But overall, very happy with Maresca. I think the thing I always say with this is that, look, the games we have lost or drawn, they're mostly because of what we do wrong and not what the other team do well, which is actually a good thing, I think, because with the amount of mistakes we have, you'd hope over the course of the season when they start playing a lot more together, that those mistakes would at least dry up, maybe 70, 60%, and then that would help us. There's always going to be mistakes with Sanchez in goal, but, with the defenders, etc., just awareness things, like the goal that Arsenal scored where Madueke doesn't track back could have been avoided, and obviously the rest of the defence on that one. So defensively, I think we can still improve, but going forward, I think we've been very good. And I think someone put a good tweet out the other day. They were saying basically that when we go behind now, it's not like, it's game over. It's done. We've actually come behind from a lot of games, albeit probably not winning as much as we'd like to, but we're still like a threat even if we go behind now. And I think that shows a good team spirit compared to previous seasons. I think Maresca's definitely got these guys sort of like a bit more mentally ready, I think, for the competition rather than Pochettino and Graham Potter, who were probably a little bit more, didn't really know maybe perhaps what to say to them or what to do tactically. So, yeah, I think from that perspective, it's been good.
Yeah, no, bro, I think that's a pretty fair assessment. I think you're spot on as well. Like, I don't look at any games this season, the ones that we've dropped points on or ones that we've lost and thought, shit, we got absolutely played off the pitch today. You look at Liverpool where we lost, we weren't played off the pitch at all. I know it doesn't work like this, but we did deserve something from that game. Forest and Palace, we did enough to win both of those games. Neither of those sides outplayed us. Obviously, Man United at Old Trafford, they didn't outplay us. That for me was probably the biggest disappointment of the season so far. And I thought the Arsenal game, there was an opportunity for us to definitely beat them. But the main thing is, at least we didn't lose. And as you say, we're going behind in big games as well, like Man United, like Arsenal, and we're getting back into it. And we're getting back into it quickly as well. You notice in those two games, we've equalised within 10 minutes in both of them, which is definitely a big change from what we were seeing last season. As you say, when you go a goal down and the game's done. Whereas now there is that fight, there is that team spirit, and there is that togetherness to go right until the end. And you always feel like, even if you're losing right up to the last minute, you always feel like there's going to be a chance. And, we're not out of a game, which, Maresca definitely deserves credit for. It's all very well talking about the good things, and there's plenty of them. You touched on defence, but just in terms of Maresca in general, I think it's obviously fair to provide a balanced view. Is there anything that you've looked at from him so far and thought, I'm a bit disappointed with that, or I'd like to see better in certain aspects of certain things from him?
I think it's hard to find things, which I think is good. I mean, recently I don't like the whole Gusto in the number 10 position. I really don't like that. But, I think that's hopefully temporary while Reece James builds his fitness up, because he didn't start against Arsenal and came on there. So I'm like, okay, so Maresca clearly knows he can play there. So if we're going to do, like the fullbacks in the pockets type things, I don't really like it, to be honest with you. I don't see how it really helps us tactically that much. Obviously, Maresca knows more than me, but just from what I've seen, I think Gusto's ruined a lot of attacks and promising situations. You could probably have someone else there. I also haven't really liked Palmer in the left half space. I think he's much better on the right-hand side when he's linking up with Noni, and I think Noni suffered from that a little bit. So, yeah, I think they were building a really good connection on the right-hand side. So now he's on the left. I'm like, oh, he's not really impacting as much. So just little things, really, like probably in the lineup selection. But even when I say lineup section, I'm happy with most of it. Like, I'm happy that, Mudryk is looking better. I'm happy that Neto's, he moved in from the left to the right against Arsenal and then he scored, like these little things that other managers just doesn't spot and don't do that we've had so far under Clearlake and Bowley. So I think Maresca's definitely a massive upgrade, and it's just how far can we really push ourselves this season? I think the biggest challenge is actually the period coming up now, because I don't know about you, but it worries me that everyone's like, 3 points here, 3 points there. I don't, it worries me a little bit that we could just sort of like, I don't know. I don't want to put bad energy in the air, but it worries me a little bit that everyone's like, oh yeah, these are easy winnable games. Guys, those we usually step up on. So let's just chill.
Bro, that's the thing, though, isn't it? There are no easy games. And yeah, we sit third in the table and whatnot, and that's why I've had mixed feelings after that Arsenal game, right? I'm pleased we're third and I'm pleased we didn't lose that game. But then it's weird because we're doing well, but then also we've won one of our last 5 matches in the league. Yeah. And I know that obviously we've had some difficult fixtures and we might have only lost one of our last 5 as well, but we've only won 1. So there's been a few draws in that. But you look at the fixtures coming up, and it's a nice little segue. Bro, the Christmas period, the build up to Christmas, the game's coming thick and fast. That's always, it's not season defining in terms of what you're going to achieve, but if you don't have a good period around this time of the year, then you can certainly ruin your season. And you're right. You look at the games we've got coming up. I'll bring them up on screen now. And in theory, you would think a lot of these are winnable. So we come back after the break. It's Leicester away, and then a Conference League, forget it. But you've got Villa at home, Southampton away, Tottenham away, Brentford, Everton away, Fulham home, Ipswich away, Palace away. Like, bro, you look at it really. Up until January 25th, where it's Man City away, you look at all those games, and in theory, all of those games are winnable.
But that's the thing is, like, I think this period's going to help us understand whether we've changed or not, in terms of, like, have we actually made that big next step or not? Because if you just look at those fixtures there, I think we always win at Leicester. I think I'd be shocked. I know it's 12:30 and sometimes that's a bit dodgy, but
it's the Maresca return, which makes it a little bit more tricky. But
I mean, they'll be up for it. We got to win that one. But look, Aston Villa, absolutely massive game, massive game. That get 3 points at home, that's big. Villa are probably, I think, our major top 4 rivals. Southampton's 3 points, Tottenham, massive game. But to be honest with you, I look at someone like Brentford at home and I think that's a banana skin, 7 o'clock. We've won one of our last 4 games at home to Brentford, I think. And then you look, you got Brentford, then you got Everton away. I mean, Everton, if everyone knows about Chelsea, mate, Goodison Park, we don't
we're so shit there.
We don't win there. So, like, I'd say Brentford, Everton, Villa are like, they're more scary for me than like Tottenham, like I'm more confident about Tottenham. So it's just like, I am really positive, but then look, we drew to Palace and we drew to, who was the other team we drew 1-1 to? Forest, yeah. I mean, if we'd have made a massive step up from last season, we would have won those games, So for me now, it's like, okay, let's put those to the back of our mind. Let's see if we beat Brentford. Let's see if we beat Everton. Let's see if we, we can beat even someone like Ipswich away, Like, I think that's
a difficult game.
These are, like you said, they're winnable games, but do we actually win them? Like, it's going to be massive. Like, look at the dates as well. Like, you've got 22nd, 26th, 30, 15. So you're going to have a lot of squad rotation in this. You're going to have players like Tosin, players like Disasi maybe playing. You're going to have players like, I don't know, it's crazy to say Enzo Fernandez, but like Felix and Nkunku. Like, these players are all actually going to get their chance now to really sort of like, change perception of fans a little bit, I think. It's go time. It's really go time, Charlie. This season, this part of the season is go time. This is not make or break, but this kind of is like like imagine we beat most of them teams. Like, how good will we be feeling, mate? Honestly,
bro, this is like if you're building a house, right? This is where you're laying the serious foundations. Like, this is where the walls are starting to go up. Like, if the walls aren't up after this period, then the house is not going to be finished at the end of the season, sort of thing. So I look at it, right, and I think this is a big opportunity in this run of games to cement ourselves within the top four. We're kind of lucky in a sense that we're third now, because with one win in our last five, we probably shouldn't be third. But that goes to show the lack of consistency from all the teams that we're competing with. And I think it's going to be one of them seasons, right, where if a team can go on a run where they reel off 4 or 5 wins on the bounce, which in this run, we've got the fixtures which we're capable of doing it, then you can really make a gap between yourself and the teams in maybe 5th and 6th place. So, and this will also tell us as well, mate, how much we've actually improved as a team this season compared to last season, because a lot of these games that are coming up in this run are games that we probably would have dropped points in last season. So you're looking at it and you're thinking, right, okay, have we improved as a team? How's Maresca going to manage the squad? I mean, that for me is the key thing. You know, everyone always goes on about we've got great options, great squad and whatnot, which we do. But for me, there's been certain in-game management things I'm not quite understanding in recent weeks why the substitutions have been so late. Why, when you're chasing a goal, you're giving Nkunku 2 minutes against Arsenal. Why Nkunku or Felix don't come on at all against Man United when you're looking for a winner. Little things like that are probably sort of small in-game things where I've not quite understood the thinking behind them. But, I mean, bro, with these games coming thick and fast, the squad's going to be used. How do you see Maresca rotating throughout this period? Because there's a lot of rotation that's going to need to be done. What are you expecting to see? Because we're going to see Enzo Fernandez come back into that midfield. There's no way Lavia and Caicedo can start every single one of those games from now coming up to Christmas. Maybe more games for Nkunku, more games for Felix. How do you see him juggling the squad?
Yeah, you know what? I have a little bit of worry that he won't rotate as much as people were expecting. I think the midfield he will, because that's going to be forced. But I think the defence, I really do think he's going to risk the likes of Cole and Fofana every 3 days. I don't think he's going to bring players in. I think up top, Nkunku may play some games, but because Jackson's so durable, I expect, I think, to be honest, the midfield and maybe the wingers will probably be the most rotated. And, when I was speaking to Leicester fans last season, Ben Jacobs as well, who everyone knows, follows Leicester fan, he was basically saying that Maresca's maybe one of his weaknesses is rotation. So he was basically saying we'll see at Chelsea whether it was just the squad that Leicester had in terms of the bench options. Like the starting 11 was fantastic, but the bench was it wasn't great. So at Chelsea, obviously it's much better. So is that a Maresca weakness? Or is that, something where he's got a better squad here, so he just does make more changes? I mean, there's going to be a lot of facts that are presented to us, I think, over this period.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think this is where I think the likes of Nkunku, for example, if these reports are to be believed about him being unhappy about his playing time, this is why I think he's gone a bit prematurely on that, because there's a lot of games coming up now. If the situation's still the same and he's getting poverty minutes coming on with 5-10 minutes to go across this run up to Christmas where there's a lot of games, then that's far more justifiable. I think you're going to look at players like, Felix. Can he get game time, decent game time? Felix has not started a single Premier League game this season for us. Can he get a start in this run of fixtures coming up? How's he going to use Reece James? How's he going to use Gusto? What's going to be the alternative to Romeo Lavia, who we know is not going to be able to start all these games? Is he obviously will play Enzo Fernandez, but even then, there's not really a replacement for Caicedo. Is Caicedo durable enough to play all these games? These are things that we do need answers to. But bro, Nkunku, let's move on to him, right? Obviously, we know the reports. There was wanting to keep the French outlet suggesting there was potential interest in Man United. Don't know how true that was, but the Telegraph as well reporting that Nkunku is considering his future. Chelsea would be prepared to let him go if they got their money back. It feels like a weird conversation, not even 2 years on from signing Nkunku, when we were so adamant, all of us, it was a great signing and he was going to be the main man for us. Now, when you sit here sort of middle of November, if you had to ask me whether I think Nkunku is going to be at Chelsea next season, I'd be more inclined to say no than yes. I mean, bro, what are your thoughts on this situation? 'Cause it's kind of a bit of a mad one.
Yeah, I think it's been brewing, to be honest with you. I think obviously when you have a player that's got a big reputation like Nkunku, and he's done things in the Champions League, he's done things for France, Bundesliga, whatever, I think he used to play for PSG. Like he's a big name in football. Got a big reputation. He joined with a big reputation. It was obviously everyone was very excited about the signing, and to be honest with you, it kind of still does feel like a new signing in some senses because like obviously he missed like pretty much all of last season. And Chelsea, I remember all the reports like last season, it was like, we're going to wait till Nkunku comes back. That was the whole thing, keeping Poch alive sort of thing. I remember the briefs at the time. So it was funny how like 1 year later, obviously we've signed more attackers now and it's a bit different, but it just feels like he's on his way out next summer. I mean, he's 27 now. He's got big wages. I just don't see where he fits in our team. Like with the way we play, on the 3-2-5 on the ball, like where would you play him really? Like he's not a winger. You can't play him number 10 because Palmer plays there at the moment. Even if you move Palmer out wide, maybe you have, I don't know. That's the thing. I think Felix is probably ahead of him on like in that number 10 position. And then obviously Maresca says he's not a striker. So like where the hell does he fit? Join the dots together. I don't see how he lasts here. Having said that, if he, it's just football's like a weird game. Like one injury to Jackson, like we're all relying on Nkunku, So it's like things can change very fast in football. So I would err on the side of caution. Like I think this season he'll definitely stay, but next summer I think, we're constantly linked with another striker as well. So it's just like,
If another striker comes, he's finished.
Yeah. So it's
there's literally nowhere for him.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting.
Bro, is that a trade-off you would take? I say trade-off, but like if it meant, let's say, for example, we had to sell Nkunku, like Nkunku had to leave, but it meant we would bring in a Gyökeres or we would sign a Duran or one of those two strikers or whatever. Is that something you would accept? Nkunku leaving for a Gyökeres or for a Duran or whoever it might be to come in?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I think so. Especially if we sold him to like a PSG or someone. Like I don't want to sell him to a Premier League rival. That's definitely something that I don't want to do. It'd have to be like like obviously Gallagher's not on the same level, but I didn't want him to go to Spurs. Like I don't want Nkunku, a player of his quality, to go to like a United or, someone like that, a Liverpool, that shouldn't happen. Like, but yeah, for what we need, I think it's about profiles. I think Chelsea correctly identified last year the profile that we needed up front. Obviously we didn't get it, but they were looking for like this big physical presence, Duran, Samu, Osimhen, and just look at our games. Like, look at Arsenal, bro. Pedro Neto put like 4 crosses.
Bro, zero box presence.
Like, if you had someone just attacking that shit, and was good in the air, mate, we would have scored like 2-3 goals, So,
right, I'll tell you what, right? Samu would have scored that header what Nkunku missed against Forest right at the end. Or the Felix one.
He would have scored the Gusto header as well. So
yeah, true.
I think we just need to start, like me included, obviously. I think we just need to start judging on profiles rather than names, to be honest.
Bro, absolutely, mate. Yeah. That's spot on. Like I'll be honest. I spent the summer criticizing a lot of the names a lot of the players we are linked with. One because didn't really know much about them, and two, I was thinking, how's this moving the needle forward? But actually, now I've sort of realised that. Do you know what? If it's something a bit out there, if it's a name that I've not really heard of, is maybe playing for a bit of an obscure team, let's give it a chance. Because actually the track record of the scouting and the players that we're identifying and looking at, I'm sort of thinking, do you know what? The scouting's pretty good. Let's just run with it and give it a chance. Obviously the scouting is better in some areas than others, but yeah, bro, I'm with you on that one. Like if the striker ends up being a bit of an obscure name, then let's just run with it and see what happens, because these scouts do seemingly look like they know what they're doing. But I mean, just lastly on Nkunku before we move on, a player like him, it's mad that we can't really seem to find a space for him in the team. Two things. First thing, bro, what have you made of Maresca's use from him from the bench? Because I think it was bordering on disrespectful bringing him on in the 88th minute against Arsenal. And I was very surprised that he didn't come on against United either, particularly when Jackson was getting absolutely zero service. So what have you made of Maresca's use of Nkunku?
Well, I think I can't quite find the quote, but I remember he said well, Nkunku's not a striker.
Yeah, no, he did. He said he actively said he was misprofiling him, basically.
Yeah, so like, I just I think the signing of Felix has made it very hard as well. I
Yeah,
think obviously Enzo Fernandez, when he comes on, mostly plays as an 8 or starts in, mostly plays as an 8. So it's like obviously you've got other players there as well. So it's like where would you want him to come on almost? But at the same time, like I do think he should have made subs early against Arsenal specifically. I think Felix and Nkunku probably you could have chucked them both on, to be honest with you, in that game.
bro. Do you know that? Bro, do you know that? Sorry, just quickly. Do you know that Felix, by the way, has been an unused sub in the last 4 Premier League games? I didn't even realise that. You know, he's not played since Nottingham Forest in the league.
Yeah, it's pretty strange because like Maresca was actually saying like, oh, like Felix is doing very well and stuff, but then he always goes back to like the balance of the team, and I do agree with that. I do, as much as I like these players, I do think you're really risking it sometimes when you bring these players on because like one transition and you could be finished if you bring, Nkunku, Felix, all these other players on, So
yeah, no, I get it. It's bro, I do understand what he's saying. It's easy to sit in the stands or at home and say, oh, get these guys on, but you don't want to leave yourself overexposed or have the team, not properly balanced, so that if you do get hit on a counter attack, then you are fucked basically, or you certainly could be. But I mean, how do you expect Nkunku to be used in these upcoming fixtures? Jackson, by the way, is 1 yellow card away from a suspension, so you would expect Nkunku could start against Aston Villa. I would maybe be inclined to start him against Leicester because you don't want Jackson getting a booking against Leicester and missing Villa at home. You'd rather Jackson missed Leicester or Southampton. I mean, do you think Nkunku could be knocking on a door for a start against Leicester? Maybe is that a game you'd look to play him in?
I don't know. I mean, the yellow card thing is definitely an interesting one. Although saying that, I think if Jackson missed Aston Villa, I mean, with the way they play, I wouldn't even mind that too much. I think Jackson's actually probably better against Leicester than an Aston Villa, to be honest with you. But yeah, we'll see. I still think Jackson will start against Leicester.
Yeah, he probably will. He probably will. But yeah, the Nkunku thing's weird, isn't it? I mean, bro, where would you ideally play him? Really, you'd play him as a 10, wouldn't you? And Palmer would have to go somewhere else. But I mean, that's one interesting thing. I mean, do you reckon, because it worked well last season? I know we're a different team this season, playing in a different way. But part of me thinks, like, particularly when Palmer is perhaps not that involved in a game like he has been recently, let's stick him on the right-hand side. Let's play Nkunku behind Jackson, and let's just try something a little bit different. Is that something you'd like to see? Maybe not from the off, but certainly within games, if we're chasing a goal, if we're looking, to try and do something a bit different, try and get a bit more out of Palmer. Would you like to see, Nkunku come in as a 10, shift Palmer out to the right and see how that works?
Yeah, I think it would be interesting. Look, I mean, we do need to try more things because in some games, obviously, like we've drawn quite a few games, so we definitely need to try some things, even if it's not from the off. But yeah, I would definitely play Nkunku as a number 10. I think I think it was the left-hand side. I think he was doing quite well in those pre-season games when he was picking the ball up. I think he was getting used to that position. He was kind of driving with the ball, winning fouls and stuff. So yeah, it's just a weird one. I think Nkunku is in a very, very difficult position, to be honest with you. I really do think he is.
Yeah, I just can't get my head around it, mate. I was so excited when we signed him. Like, he's a quality player, and it just seems ridiculous to think that we can't find a place for him in the team. And really,
it's because the way we play, though. Like if we played like last season, just a standard 4-2-3-1, you'd have Nkunku behind the striker in the 10. You'd have Palmer out on the right. You'd still drift in and link up Nkunku, and then you'd have whoever on the left. But now because we've got Felix and Nkunku, because we got 2 10s, it makes it more difficult. And obviously Palmer's moved centrally, so then you have less room for putting another one there. So it's difficult.
Yeah, bro, it just don't make. It's just a real strange one. I mean, to think that we're sitting here now saying that Nkunku's probably could well leave in the summer, and you can't really make a strong case for him to be starting ahead of Nicholas Jackson. Imagine saying that in the summer of 2023, saying that, Jackson's going to be starting ahead of Nkunku, and you can't make a case for Nkunku really starting over him. I mean, it's mental how these things work out. Just on Felix briefly, mate. Obviously, I know you're a big Felix fan, but are you? Look, we know that he wasn't signed to be a starter, but are you surprised at how little he's featured this season?
Felix?
Yeah.
I mean, not really, no. Considering like the way we play again, I think it's, to be honest with you, I think the issue is Palmer playing centrally. But then again, if he plays that wide, he can't play as a touchline winger. We see that against City on the first. He just doesn't have the pace and the 1v1 ability. He needs to be someone that has kind of a free roam role. I do want to see him more like coming off the right, to be honest, because I do think he actually gets on the ball a lot more, I think, out on the right than he does centrally, especially in the big teams. Against the big teams, like recently, I don't think he's done much centrally and got on the ball as much as we'd like. So I would like to see him there. But then again, I think even if he does do that, does he then play Nkunku or Felix? I don't think he does, though, because like then you've still got like, you know what we need? We need Caicedo to play as that number 8, and then we need Lavia and someone else behind him, because Caicedo will bring a lot of balance. He's like the only player there that I think.
But do you think, by the way, mate, do you think you could play on next season, for example, you could play an Andre Santos and a Lavia behind a Caicedo?
I'm not sure, because like Santos, I think if you look at him, he's actually more of an 8 in my opinion. Like he scored like 5 goals or something.
So he could play Santos as the 8 and have Caicedo and Lavia behind, maybe.
He could do, yeah, he could do. Obviously, he's a very good player, but yeah, we just need. I think I've always said, I think Caicedo playing as a box to box like he does for Ecuador would be, bring probably that balance where maybe you could have Palmer out on the right, Caicedo right hand side, and then maybe on the left hand side, then you could start Felix or Nkunku. Maybe that helps a little bit, but to be honest with you, we've not got the perfect option in either case, because like saying Caicedo, putting him further forward, okay, fair enough, but then like he's been really, really good defensively this season, so. How does a Lavia Enzo partnership work? I don't know. Lavia's like a good player, but again, Lavia's not really. I don't think he's like. No, he's not really like a DM. I think he's more of like a 6, which picks the ball up and progresses play. I don't think he's like amazing defensively yet. So like Caicedo actually is. So it's just so hard, man. Like we got so many good players, but the balance is off at the moment.
Yeah, bro, it's so difficult, isn't it? It's great to have all these options, and you'd rather have these problems than not have them and not have the options and whatnot. But it does create headaches for you. It really does. I mean, there's so many different solutions, but the most important thing's the balance. I mean, just talking about the midfield quickly. By the way, guys, make sure you keep smashing the likes as well. We're not even on 50 yet, which is poor. So, guys, make sure you're running it up. Smash the like button. It really helps me out. And, of course, subscribe if you are new around here as well. But let's get these likes up, guys. Should be well over 50. Should be looking to get 100 likes. So let's get to work, people. Let me know in the chat when we are there. But make sure you're smashing that like button, guys. Midfield, mate. Obviously, Enzo's dropped out recently. Lavia Caicedo has been a preferred partnership. It's twofold, this. I'd be interested to get your thoughts on it. I don't know if this is a coincidence or not, right? But since Lavia and Caicedo have been playing together, right, started in the Liverpool game, and then we've had all the league games subsequently since, our creativity has not gone through the floor. We're not creating anywhere near as many chances, right? We haven't scored as many goals. Now, you can level that to the opposition as well, but there's a clear indication for me that when Lavia and Caicedo play, our creativity drops down, which is why I think the Gusto or Cucurella, whoever it is, finding themselves in that 10 role has coincided with Lavia coming into the team, because he's looking to find that creativity through the fullback in that position to make up for not having Enzo Fernandez's creativity in the middle. Now, do you think that's true? Do you think there's a correlation between Enzo playing and us scoring more goals and creating more chances compared to when Lavia and Caicedo play?
Not from what I've seen, no. Because I think when Enzo was starting, I was like, okay, Enzo's not really doing much creatively. So I don't think so. But I do think Lavia and Caicedo playing together does give us more like defensive durability. But I do think, 100%. Like if Enzo plays as a 6, I do think we create more chances, because I think he's obviously really good there. He sprays the passes, all that. But when he plays as an 8, I don't think anything's different, to be honest with you.
Mate, would you like to see him play as a 6 in the league?
I mean,
surely it's worth a try.
Yeah, but like it has to be different from last season, and I think it will with like Caicedo. Like Caicedo has to stay next to him. Like it can't be Caicedo bombing forward and then like
so you'd almost have like a 4-2-3-1 or like a 4-1 sort of. I don't know, but like you can't have it the same as last season.
Yeah, you can't have it the same as last season because Enzo was covering ground and Caicedo was going forward too much. So it needs to be more balanced if they're going to play together. Because when they were actually a pivot, like let's be honest, our on-field structure last season under Poch was the worst I've ever seen of any Chelsea manager.
Yeah,
but when they were close
so
together,
many gaps.
Yeah, it was horrendous. But when you actually see them like link up, they're actually really good in terms of like the passing and stuff between them. So if we can get them kind of like Lav and Caicedo are now, where they're close to each other, then yeah, that could work. Yeah, for sure.
But it's also interesting as well, right? And I've noticed this is that because Lavia and Caicedo can cover the ground right in the midfield between them, it almost makes the fullback inverting into midfield almost pointless. You don't need the extra man in there because those two are capable of covering the ground. Whereas with Enzo, if it's Enzo and Caicedo, right, you need Cucurella or whoever it is inverting in there to make the extra man because Enzo doesn't cover that space. So I almost feel like if you're gonna play Lavia and Caicedo, why don't we just try it with no fullbacks inverting and see how that goes? Because I think Gusto picking up them spaces, right, is where Palmer wants to get on the ball, and Palmer's not getting on the ball. And as you said, it's disrupting that link up that Palmer and Madueke have had, because where Palmer wants to get on the ball in that space, Gusto's finding himself there. Now, Gusto understands that role tactically. He's not got the quality on the ball to try it. So, mate, if you're playing Lavia and Caicedo, do you reckon it's worth a try of just not inverting any fullbacks at all and just let Palmer roam in that space?
Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say. Yeah, it's really hard to say at the moment. The one thing I don't want though is, like you said, Gusto playing there. I really don't want Gusto playing in the pocket. I think it's horrendous. It's really bad.
Bro's just not got the quality on the ball. That's the problem. But
in tight spaces he does, but like passing, crossing, shooting. Yeah. I mean, apparently he's never scored a professional goal, which I found crazy if that's true.
Well, I'm not really surprised, to be honest.
No, like you'd think maybe he'd score like a tap-in or something in League One. Like even Mikel scored a few goals.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, why? I mean, surely, right? If you're going to persist with that fullback in the 10, why has Reece not been tried there? Surely it can only be a fitness thing. Maybe he's concerned that it's too much physically on him. But surely, if you're going to play that system, right, the one fullback you want to be playing there is the one who's got the best quality on the ball, and that's Reece. Do you think we'll ever see Reece picking up that position?
I do. I think he'll start there one of these Premier League games soon. I do think he's building his fitness up for that position. But at the same time, like, do you have to do that? Like, why can't you just, like, do you have to play Gusto there? Like, why don't you just invent this or, like, bring this role in when Reece is ready to play it? Like, why do we have to do it now? Like, that's the annoying thing. I don't know why he's done it, to be honest with you. It's a strange one. It really is. And even when Gusto's been playing bad, he's still doing it. So, I don't know.
Bro, it's literally come in, though, until it literally came in at Liverpool. And it's come in to coincide with Lavia and Caicedo playing. So we never saw it before then. We weren't seeing that. So it's obviously specifically come in for that reason, which is an odd one. But mate, before we move on to the centre back hunt and stuff, what do you think we can do to get more out of Cole Palmer in the big games? Now, I'm not saying he's ghosting or he's disappearing in big games, but in some of the big games this season, he's been quiet. He's been nullified. What do you think that Maresca can do potentially to get more out of him in these games?
I think stop playing him on the left-hand side, first of all, because I think with him and Madueke, like that when he's on the the right attacking half space in the number 8, number 10, I think him and Madueke link up really well, and he's going to be more involved there. But Palmer's also just got to do more, to be honest. Like, it's not always on the manager. I think Palmer's got to do more. I think he's got to try and get on the ball more. He's got to try and do stuff. Like he definitely is not ghosting, but he is kind of ghosting in some of these big games recently. Like the Man United game, I hardly even noticed him.
Yeah, no.
But like, it's just, how can that be? You know, like he had a couple of moments, really nice touches, but like, this is Cole Palmer. Like, yeah, he's going to be. Like, the thing is, I think at the moment he's struggling a little bit because first real time he's got double marked or man marked specifically. Like teams are starting to obviously, you know, like, okay, he's a great player. Let's focus on him. And unfortunately, at the moment, our other players are not capitalizing on the fact that, yeah, we've got this other space because Palmer's being man marked. They're not really, like, other teams aren't really worried about our other attackers. And I think that's a shame at the moment. You know, they're just focusing on Palmer. So that's what I say, though, it's about the box presence. Like, if you had an Osimhen or a Duran or someone like that, they attract players, I think, whereas Jackson doesn't really do that. Jackson only really attracts players when he drops deep because they follow him and then Jackson turns them. But when we're against a settled defence, you know, Jackson's not, like, the centre-back's not really worried about Jackson because unless he runs in behind, they're not really worried, to be honest. And that's like, if you had someone with a different profile, they're constantly moving about and they're hassling players. It's like, okay, yeah, you've got attention on Palmer, but oh shit, we might need two centre-backs on Osimhen. We might need two centre-backs on Duran because you know what I mean? Like, I don't think Jackson gives off that same.
But that's where, mate, I think what we were talking about earlier comes in. Let's shift him out to the right. Let's put Nkunku in a 10. How many times did we say in the Poch preseason, right? Oh, we can't wait to see Jackson and Nkunku playing together. How many times have they played together? Virtually none. So that's where I think that needs to be tried as well. Let's try something a bit different to get more out of him. I agree Palmer's got to do more and it shouldn't always be on the manager. But I think if you can see a player is clearly struggling, switch his position, try something different. But, mate, you are spot on when you say that. You know, we haven't got, like, a different option. You notice when Nkunku comes on, right, and this is nothing to do with his quality, by the way, he doesn't move. There's no runs. Everything's in front of you. So as a centre-back, it's so much easier to play against Nkunku because the whole game's in front of you. You don't have to worry about him going in behind. You don't have to worry about him dropping deep. He doesn't do any of those things. That's where you're absolutely right, mate. I think maybe we've missed the trick in our recruitment to not have someone who is got presence in the box. Because how many times do we get the ball wide, right? You look into the box and it's just Jackson in there. We know Jackson's aerial ability is not his strongest point, and he's not really a physical presence. And mate, what were we doing the other day against Arsenal, bro? We were literally playing a lot of long balls up to Jackson. Why? He was never going to beat a Saliba and a Gabriel in the air at all. So,
well, honestly, I'd rather us do that than have Sanchez pass out the back at the moment. Though.
Oh yeah, no, bro, I'm fully with you on that one. But you get what I mean, though. You're doing that, but you know full well that Jackson is not going to win any headers against them two.
Yeah, we've not really got a tall team, to be honest with you. That's definitely a problem. Like, I always remember when we used to just hit Marcus Alonso from goal kicks and stuff. That was so
great,
good.
Wasn't it?
Full wing back. You just Courtois, just ping it out to Alonso, and you know we don't really have anyone like that in our team anymore. Like if Vega plays, then he's probably the only one, but he doesn't start for us in the Prem. So,
mate, we've got no one. Like there's, and that's a big thing. I think a big thing why we struggle at set pieces as well, bro, is that we've got no physical presence. You can talk about Colwell, Fofana, and whatnot. There's no where your big guys. You know, I know I don't want to keep going back to the past, but you go back to previous Chelsea and see how many sort of like big physical guys there were. You know, Essiens, Makaleles, you know, Balaks, etc. JT's at the back, Cahill's and whatnot. Now you look at the team and you think there's no height, there's no physicality, there's no big presence in the box. I know football's different and it evolves, but there's absolutely still a space for that. And even as a plan B, we haven't even got it as a plan B to just bring on a more physical person and try and cause problems that way. So it is going to be interesting to see how we adapt in these games and whatnot to different situations. But mate, defense. Let's talk centre backs. Obviously, it came out the other day. We're actively scouting centre backs. I think we knew that was kind of going to happen. We know that we need a new centre back. First things first, bro. What are you saying in terms of a centre back? Are you saying that we need a starting quality centre back, someone to come in into the team instead of a Colwell or a Fofana? Or are you thinking we need someone that is good enough to put pressure on Colwell and Fofana and ultimately take one of their places if needs be? Or do you think we need, or are you just looking at someone that bridges the gap between, Fofana and Colwell compared to a Tosin or a Disasi? What sort of centre-back do you think we need?
Well, I do think Colwell and Fofana will be a very, very good partnership if they play together long enough. So I think we need someone that can start over Fofana if he's not fit and barely notice the difference, but also be okay with not starting, and that's probably impossible to find. So
it's a tough ask, isn't it?
I don't know. We've been linked to Araujo from Benfica. We've been linked to loads of players. I know we're scouting loads of centre backs for sure. So they're definitely cooking up something there. I think Disasi as well. I don't think he's gonna stay very long. Badiashile, maybe not. So there'll definitely be one or two out the door. Anselmino's one for the future, but yeah, I do think it's a shame, really. Like, I don't want to completely downplay Tosin, but it does feel like Tosin could have been that guy. He could have been that sort of leader at the back. He could have been that guy to come in.
He didn't have the quality, though, does he? We've got to be honest here.
So far, he's not really moving me that much, So I don't know. It's so hard to find, really, because the problem is that anyone nowadays is, you pay 50, 60 mil for someone, they're going to be like, well, I'm starting then, and it's
this is the problem.
And that was the thing when we were bidding a lot for Omarodin and we were bidding for Duran. I was like, well, are these guys going to be happy as a backup to Jackson? I mean, what's going on here? Because, sometimes in the market, we don't really make a lot of sense, because then we went to Osimhen and I was like, well, Osimhen's obviously starting. So, you've gone from, profiles that you probably put on the bench to Osimhen, who's going to be starting. So then are you giving up on Jackson? And the centre-back one's interesting for me, because I do feel like we'll spend quite a bit of money on there. And it's like...
Do you think so? Do you honestly think we'll spend 60 or 70?
No, I think we might spend 45, 50, I feel. And that's big money for me for a centre-back. So
a lot of money, yeah.
Yeah, I do think we will spend a reasonable amount. I think Disasi and Badiashile, the things with them is I feel like they could go and we still don't have to sign two, because then Vega can play left centre back.
Yeah, we only need one. We need one.
You need one. So then obviously you accumulate your money and you put a little bit more on that. Maybe you can spend 60 mil on a centre back. But then if you do that, well, you can't have a 60 mil centre back on the bench, or can you? I don't know.
Maybe you can.
Maybe it's really hard to find that player though, isn't it? Because the club and Maresca clearly believe in Fofana and Colwell.
Absolutely, and rightly they should. But I think the biggest problem is, mate, and we've said it, is that the drop off in quality is way too big.
It does scare me. If Fofana gets injured, yeah, I'm scared. I really am, because I know he's not the best, but he's. If you put categories like Tosin, Disasi versus Fofana, Fofana's 3 categories or tiers above them.
No, bro, he's way better than both of them by comfortably. I mean, I find it mad that there was conversation earlier in the season. People were genuinely saying that Tosin was better than Fofana, and that Tosin should be starting regularly ahead of Fofana. It's just utter rubbish. Mate, if they're both playing their best, Fofana is way, way better than Tosin. He's got way more ability, way more talent. I mean, this is not a slight on Tosin, by the way. The guy's just better than him. It's kind of as simple as that. But I mean, it is a worry that if a Colwell is missing or if a Fofana's missing, that drop in quality is huge. And I don't know. Do you look at, obviously we bought Tosin on a free in the summer. We never replaced Thiago Silva. I'm just sort of looking at it and thinking, really, do we need 5 centre backs? Because I think you could get away with having. I think you could, honestly, mate. This might sound mad, but I think you could get away with having no Tosin and having no Disasi, having no Badiashile. Right? You sign one other centre back, a top one, and then you have Vega fills in as that 4th choice. I don't think you need 4 specialist centre backs. I mean, is that mad or?
I don't know. I am a big fan of having a lot of centre backs, to be honest, in the squad, because I feel like
they don't have to rotate. But it's not a position you rotate very much. That's the only problem.
Not at the same time. It's with us. it depends on the quality. Like, with us, I feel like I'd rather us have more centre back options because, like, if Cole and Fofana get injured, or even one of them gets injured, I'm scared. So I'd rather have an option and Tosin to sound like I'd rather have options that if one doesn't play well, okay, well, you try the other. I don't want a situation where we just like. The thing is, with me, is like everyone's judging right now on the fact that Cole and Fofana haven't got injured yet. There's a very, very, very high likelihood that Fofana is going to get injured at some point. Like, I'd be absolutely gobsmacked if he wasn't out for 1 or 2 months at some point this season, because that's just how.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, that's just how he is. I'm not putting bad energy out there. I'm just presenting.
Well, and suspensions and stuff as well. You saw when he was suspended against Liverpool, Tosin came in, had an absolute shocker.
Yeah, so it's just a situation we're in, and I think the club, we need to sign someone in January. I think. I don't think.
You think January? You don't think we can make it a summer?
No, I don't. I don't think so. I don't trust. The thing is, as well, is like Tosin. I know, when it's in a off the ball, it's a back four, and obviously he's in a 2, and it's not. But like, if we get caught on the ball and he has to defend wide areas, so you know what I mean? Like, that's all our reaction. So you can't really rely on them too. So you know what I mean? You just can't. You have to get rid of one of them. It's going to be Disassi, let's be honest. But at the end of the day, when he goes, like, we need someone that is a right centre back, because Tosin can play in the middle as well. So I actually think he's better in the middle. He can be the Colwell backup. Let's have a good right centre back backup, or someone that can start when Fofana comes in, or when he's injured or whatever.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like, even if Fofana and Colwell were going through a bad spell, right? It's the competition's not there to say like, oh, it's actually worth taking one of them out and giving someone else a legit chance, because they're not performing to a level where you're seeing like, do you know what? Maybe one of them should get a go. I'm not seeing anything from Tosin where I'm thinking, yeah, he should get a chance. I'm not really seeing much from Badiashile where I'm thinking, yeah, do you know what? Maybe he should have a bit of a run in the team. We're just not seeing that. But I mean, in terms of who might come in, January is obviously difficult. Maybe we do something in January. Maybe we do a deal, and someone comes in. We agree in January, and someone comes in the summer. I don't know, but I mean, if it was down to you, mate, who would you like to see come in? Obviously, we've been linked with Araujo, Antonio Silva, both at Benfica. Marilla at Nottingham Forest is another one that's been spoken about. I'm sure there's quite a few relative unknowns that rank highly on the data that we don't really know about right now. But if it was up to you, mate, who would you like to see come?
Honestly, I've not really looked at centre backs too much. I keep calling for like this experienced leader at the back, but it's not going to happen.
No, it's not happening.
It's not happening. Let's be honest. I don't know. I'm going to need to look in right centre backs a bit more, to be honest with you, over the next sort of few weeks or so, because I'd like to put a name forward, but I don't really have any at the moment.
What are your thoughts on Murillo?
Well, he's a left centre back, so yeah, he's not on the right centre back, so I don't think he'll come. He'll be as well.
Yeah, no, it is tricky, but I don't know. I just think it's very hard to do business in January, and you just end up spending over the odds. And maybe we need to do that. I don't know, but the defense is the one area you look at, and you just think that's the one area that needs the biggest room for improvement. And despite us signing so many centre backs in recent years, we've only really got 2 good ones, which is mental. I mean, just on Badiashile, mate, do you still believe in him? Do you still think there's something there? Do you think like something could come back? Because this guy, when he first came in, was unreal, as we know. The injury obviously set him back. Come back under Poch, and like he was playing, and he looked like a different player. In terms of making mistakes all the time, no confidence and whatnot. And now he's just playing Conference League. He done well when he come in against Liverpool, but that's his only Prem minutes. I mean, do you still believe in Badiashile? Do you think he can turn it round?
No, I don't think so. No,
I think he's done.
No, I think he's done. Yeah, yeah. It is. It's funny as well. Like that brief came out the other day from some journalists. Like he's not
so random as well, wasn't it?
I mean, yeah. Let's put that to the test. Like they'll definitely be looking for offers. Trust me. Like there's surely there's no way that's their position. I mean, yes, he's got good passing, and they brought it up in the brief, but like he's just lost all composure, and he's not quick. Like, he's not the best 1v1. Like, he's just I don't know. I think he's done, to be honest with
you. Who do you think's easier to sell, Badiashile or Disasi?
Fucking hell, that's a hard one. Probably Badiashile, actually. I think he's younger and he has pre-existing links like AC Milan. You know, I think Disasi. The problem with Disasi is we bought him for so much.
But bro, he was like he was almost 40 mil.
38.5 mil. So
mental.
I think Badiashile is easier to sell, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but purely age and I don't think Disasi can get much better. Whereas Badiashile, I think there is that potential there that he can get back to something half decent potentially. I mean, we don't know for certain, but yeah, he's younger and he's obviously he is better. Guys, keep smashing the like button as well. We're on 54 likes. Let's get this up, people. Come on, guys, we can definitely do better than this. So if you're tuned in now, if you haven't smashed the like, please make sure you do run it up because it does massively help out more than you could imagine. So please, smash the likes. Let's get this to 70, 80 likes if we can. Let me know in the chat. Let me get to a couple of things very quickly. Yes, big up to Brian. Bring me Nkunku. Pys, you a fan of Nkunku, bro?
Yeah, but he's not a right centre back. So
do you think on right and left, right? I know, like, is it really that big a deal in terms of like? Do you not think can a left not play on the right and a right not play on the left, or does it upset the balance? Do you think it's that essential?
I do, yeah. I think it does upset the balance, to be honest with you. Especially when you're playing. Like, the thing is with us is like because we play a free on the ball, like they're almost like a right back at times when they have the ball. So you don't really want a left footer receiving the ball on his left. I think it's awful. I think it's awkward, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, fair. I hear it. So maybe no Nkunku. I mean, just briefly, right? We obviously Boy Vincent today saying that reports claiming Chelsea are in talks with Jonathan Tah are not true. Tah, mate, would you like Tah? Because he would potentially be on a free, or you could probably get him for a small fee in January, and it is that leader and that experience. But I mean, what are your thoughts on Jonathan Tah? I mean, it doesn't sound like it's going to happen, but is that someone that probably fits the mold of what we're looking for better in terms of someone that could lead the back line?
Maybe, but again, I haven't watched too much of him, so I can't really make a solid judgment on him, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, fair. Bro, last little topic then, the goalkeeping situation.
Don't get me started, honestly.
Bro, what? do these guys believe what they're saying when these briefs coming out? Like, oh, Chelsea think he's got all the ingredients to be one of the best goalkeepers in the league. Oh, when he stops making mistakes, Chelsea think his talent, once he stops making mistakes, his talent will catch, or whatever bollocks they were saying. Bro, these guys don't believe that, do they? Sure, Maresca's not a stupid guy, right? But surely he's not believing half the stuff that he's saying about Sanchez.
Yeah, no, honestly, I mean, I've talked about it so much recently, and I'm just like, I just cannot stand Robert Sanchez. Like, I cannot stand him, honestly. Like, he is just a mistake waiting to happen. Like, even if he makes 3 good saves in a game, you just know he's going to piss you off at some point.
But he ruins it by making a big error, so it cancels all his good work out.
Bro, honestly, he's so fucking annoying. Jorgensen, from what I've seen, I mean, he's hard but harsh, but like I don't think he's great either from what I've seen. The Newcastle Cup game really scared me, to be honest.
Jorgensen was shocking in it. He was awful.
He looked well dodgy. So, mate, honestly, if there's a one position I'd sign, it'd be goalkeeper. Like if you said like, okay, you've got 80 million to spend it on one position, goalkeeper straight away. There's no opposition for me. That's the most important position. I think the whole passing thing as well, like. You know how it was like the briefs, like, oh well, Sanchez is elite on the ball. He fits Maresca ball. Like,
he doesn't.
Does he fuck? Like, it's so overrated.
He couldn't be anything further away from it.
Exactly. So, no, it just annoys me every time someone says goalkeeper. I just get instantly annoyed because I'm like, oh fucking hell, like I'm trying to forget it. That's the one good thing about the international break. I haven't had to think of Robert Sanchez.
No, that is true, but I suppose we're gonna have to start thinking about him a little bit now. But I mean, I think a lot more scrutiny's got to be put on the decision in the first place to go into this season with him as number one. Who's made that decision? Who's decided that that was a good idea? Because you look at it, and it's just, for me, every game that goes by, that decision just looks more and more like sheer incompetence every single week. I just don't know how you can arrive at that at that conclusion that that was the right decision to take. I mean, we've seen him make a number of costly errors. Maresca's backed him on multiple occasions, as you'd expect a manager to do. You're not going to criticise players in public, well, not go in on them, in public per se. But I mean, surely privately he must have concerns. And I mean, look, enough's enough already. I think we all know that. But in Maresca's mindset, bro, what do you think it will take from Sanchez for him to be replaced?
Well,
like, does he need to cost us more games? Like, what do you reckon the tipping point could be in Maresca's mind?
It's hard because, like, even when he's making mistakes, Maresca just keeps talking about kicking the ball long, and if he does that, then he'll be dropped. So I don't know. It's a weird one. Just more mistakes, like more inconsistency. I think the problem is like he either just gets better or he costs us, like, not top four, but he costs us a lot more games, which could then cost us top four, to be fair. So it's kind of a lose-lose, to be honest with you, because I don't think he's going to get better. And I mean, I think he's going to keep still making mistakes. So I just think he'll get. I don't think he'll get replaced, honestly, anytime soon. It doesn't seem that way, to be honest with you.
No, bro, I hear you. I mean, do you think part of the problem is as well that he doesn't really trust Jorgensen right now? I think that's part of the issue as well, is that there's not like a number two that's knocking on the door showing that he should be in the team. Like, Jorgensen is 22, very young for a goalkeeper. The games that he's played, Conference League, we've not really found out much about him. The Newcastle game was very poor from him, very poor from a lot of people. Do you think the fact that Jorgensen is relatively new and inexperienced on the goalkeeping scene, do you think that's part of the reason as well? Whereas if there was someone a bit more experienced, a bit more competent at this stage, that there would be a bigger chance?
Yeah, probably. But then again, just going off what Maresca said, he doesn't really seem to have a major issue with him, and it's kind of weird. I don't know whether to take his quote seriously or not, but I kind of think I should, because like Maresca seems very honest, so I feel like he would come out and say, like something if he didn't think Sanchez was playing well. But at the same time, I do think Sanchez is a big confidence player, so I feel like if you don't trust Jorgensen, you can't come out and start flaming Sanchez in the media. So I think he has to be very careful with what he says, because Sanchez, to me, seems like a very sensitive guy. He seems like someone that doesn't do well when he's, like criticised and that sort of thing.
Well, you noticed against Brighton at the Bridge, mate, I think he just lost his head. They were booing him and shit. He just cost us 2 goals.
Exactly. So he needs to be sort of fine-tuned and almost like Mudryk, I think, to be honest. I don't think you can come out and really sort of say these guys are this and that. I think it'll go down the wrong way. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, mate, I hear you on that. I mean, there's a few people in the chat asking about Petrovic. It's an interesting one. They sent him on loan to Strasbourg, obviously maybe with in mind for him to sort of learn the style of play as such. I mean, obviously Strasbourg and Chelsea supposedly employing a similar style of play. I've not actually watched a lot of Strasbourg this season, so I could be totally wrong on that. But I think that was the idea behind it, for him to develop his style, get better with the ball at his feet and whatnot. Do you think there's a chance that Petrovic could come back and he's got some sort of future at Chelsea next season, maybe? I mean, where do you think we're at with Petrovic at the moment?
I don't think he has a future, to be honest. I mean, Fabrizio didn't even mention the other day, because he was talking about the goalkeepers, and he mentioned obviously Mike Penders, Jorgensen and Sanchez. So it doesn't seem like Petrovic is, in the discussion at all, to be honest. I think he obviously went to Strasbourg with the hope of him probably improving his, ball playing, because Rosini is playing the same sort of system and the way we kind of play under Maresca. So I know they were looking at that sort of to see if he could improve majorly, but I don't think he has so far. So I know there's this one account on the timeline that watches like all the Strasbourg games, and he still moaned about Petrovic's passing. So I don't think he's going to come back anytime soon. I probably reckon he's probably going to get, maybe a 20-25 mil or something next summer.
Yeah, I just find it incredible, right? How we've signed so many goalkeepers in a short space of time, and yet, let's be real, none of them are good enough to be a Chelsea number one. I just can't get my head around how we're even in that situation. Like, what do you think the plan for Mike Penders is? Like, what's the plan with him? Do you know what I mean? You spend 20 million on him or whatever. Obviously, he's on loan this season. He'll go on loan again next season. I mean, he might even never play again. I remember when we signed him, and I literally said at the time, sort of a little bit jokingly, but part serious as well, bro, I don't even think this guy will ever play a game for Chelsea. Like, I just don't understand what the thought process is with this goalkeeping situation. I mean, do you understand sort of what we're doing here? Because I can't make any sense of the actual plan with the goalkeepers.
Yeah, I think there's more like hype around Penders than there was at Slanina. So I think he probably I don't know. I do think he'll actually play for us, to be honest. I think Penders might be a bit different, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if, like you said, he just never plays for us. But I do think the fact that we've invested in another young goalkeeper after Slanina, it's like, okay, maybe he's the one then. Maybe we got Slanina wrong. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell, bro.
It's hard to tell. Bro, TKG here asking,
He's someone on Xbox with, ignore him.
Is he on the wind up?
He's trolling. He's on the wind up.
Just on De Gea, by the way. No joke, mate. I would have taken him on a free over what we've got right now.
I mean, I haven't watched him for Fiorentina, to be honest. But
no, I think he's been quite good, bro. He saved a few penalties and he's got an assist. So,
well, only one thing, he would never fit into our wage bracket, that's for sure.
I don't think he's getting paid much money at Fiorentina, by the way. But yeah. I mean, yeah, in terms of like a goalkeeper you'd like to see come in, what do you reckon, bro? Because like there's people say Maignan, Diogo Costa. People talk about Bolker at Nice. What goalkeeper do you think would be good for us?
Well, Bolker has very good underlying stats. I think from what I've seen, some of those analytical accounts say he's very good. Maignan is the only injury-prone goalie in the world, so I don't know whether
that'll be perfect then.
I mean, it's funny though because I was watching him at the UCL, and both times I've watched him, he's got injured. I don't know how that's possible, but yeah, Diogo Costa, I think he's probably the one I'd go for. I think he's got a very, very high ceiling. I think he's a really good player. So yeah, probably Costa, to be honest with you. I think he's probably the one that I'd go for. But there's also a case of trying to get someone older and more experienced.
Yeah.
The problem is I've always wanted to see Oblak in the Premier League, to be honest. But I don't know if he's
mate. He's that one, right, that all the time gets linked with a move but never leaves.
Yeah, he's a one-club player, isn't he?
He would be very, very good. He would be very good. I mean, I'd be more than happy with him. But I mean, do you see us moving for a goalkeeper in the next 2 windows? I mean, obviously, I don't think January, but do you think next summer there's genuinely something we're going to look to do, a proper goalkeeper? I mean, surely that must be part of the plans.
Well, it depends. I do think they'll try and sell Sanchez next summer. When we get to it, I do think they'll at least try. But then it depends on whether, who sort of does Jorgensen then take over. This season's gonna be a long season, so let's see what happens with Jorgensen. See if he does get into the team and whatever. But yeah, I think this season will go a long way to determining those plans. I wouldn't believe the briefs at the moment of what's coming out. I think it's just typical media and Chelsea, you know how they operate nowadays. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they try and stop the hate, I guess, with the fan base, and they try and bring context to things. But we're the ones with the eyes. We know what's happening, and they've done this before, where they release briefs, and then it's a few months later, and they try and sell the player, or something comes out which you're well, we said that months ago, and you know what I mean? They change their mind through the brief, so it's just what information they like to release at the time, but they obviously try to protect the players as well, which is normal. So, yeah.
I mean, mate, I don't even think Keller is for sale. I've got no idea. But, I mean, is Keller? I mean, I don't even think Chelsea would go for him necessarily, but I mean, is that the caliber of goalkeeper that would make a difference, or do you think we need better?
I think we need better, to be honest. I think we need. And the thing is with Keller, he seems very good in like one-off games, or
he shipped 5 today.
But yeah, well, when he plays, like if he played consistently in the Premier League, I don't know how good he'd be. Maybe he would be good, but I don't know. I'll tell you one goalie I really like. Always liked him is Jan Sommer. I think Sommer's very good.
Oh, he's really good.
Yeah.
But again, he's obviously at the wrong end of the age bracket. Probably it's not.
He's really good on the ball as well. Like I was watching him. The first time I saw, well, not the first time. I know, obviously, known him for years in the Euros and stuff, but I watched him like live when we played Inter in that friendly. He was really good. And
he was really. I was very impressed with him. I was at that game as well. I thought he was
Champions League. He's very, very good for his height. I think he's actually quite commanding. He's a great shot stopper. I think he's got that experience. I'd probably go for him, to be honest with you. But
I mean, Emi Martinez, we've been linked with him before. Do you think he'd be a good fit? I mean, he's got the shithouse factor, which is class, but I mean,
not good enough on the ball.
Don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Nah, fair. Right. Seems like a good point to round out. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in as always. It's greatly appreciated, all of the support. Please, on the way out, people, make sure you are smashing the like button. Let's get this up to at least 70 likes. That'll be 8 more likes, guys. We can definitely get that on the way out. Please make sure you're smashing that like button. I will be back tomorrow lunchtime with Ben Jacobs. So make sure you stay tuned in for that one. It'll be 1 p.m. UK time, or it could change. I'm not sure, but it's set for 1 p.m. UK time, guys. So make sure you tune in for that one. Pys, thanks for coming on, bro. Greatly appreciated. I mean, people should know where you are, but if they don't, let them know.
Yeah, CFC Pys or Pys on Twitter. And then we got the Chelsea Unfiltered podcast, which that'll be out on Tuesday. We do a podcast every Tuesday with Lawrence, who you guys probably know. So yeah, probably those two.
And playback. Are you still doing playback? Yeah.
Still doing playback streams. So yeah, if you want to watch more streaming content, then yeah, we do 3 streams on a match day. Obviously, the lineup reaction, the half time, and then we do a post game stream. So they're always quite fun over on there. So yeah, we do those every sort of match day. They're quite fun. Perfect. Guys, make sure you check out all of that stuff. Loads of great Chelsea content. I'll link it all in the description so you guys can go and check it out. Make sure you do. As I said, guys, I'll catch you lot tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your evening, guys. And yeah, catch up soon, people.